Hey guys, I've been feeling like playing an RPG over the summer, and for my summer RPG, I've chosen Expeditions Viking. Expeditions Viking is my favourite role playing game from the 2010s. In fact, it's one of the only role playing games that I actually liked from the 2010s, with having been quite set in my ways and preferring the way that games were made in the 2000s, which is probably unsurprising considering that I like Age of Empires 2. So, Expeditions Viking is a historical role-playing game. It is in the classic style of like 2000 RPGs, like Baldur's Gate, which I guess was technically released in 1998, but you know, Baldur's Gate 2, Icewind Dale, possibly like, I guess you could say, Neverwinter Nights, sort of those earlier games that are like top-down camera, where you're sort of moving a group of characters through. I guess it's a 3D game, so you're sort of moving a group of characters through areas that have like edges, like walled off areas. It's not an open world game, and then you have like a world map, and you can travel to different areas on the map, etc. And it also has turn-based combat instead of real-time combat. Some people don't like turn-based combat, some people do. I like both, and in this game, you create a main character which is like inherits the leadership of a Danish Viking clan, and then you have some local squabbles to sort out in the start of the game, and then you have to sort of prepare for an expedition to Great Britain, where you can plunder and you can make alliances. You just basically need to get wealth and rebuild your homestead back in Denmark, because there's like a rival Viking clan that wants to basically usurp your throne or take your land, and then depending on how well you sort of build up your reputation and your wealth in the late game, there's a few different outcomes that can happen based on, I think there's a prosperity level and a power level or something that you have to increase by doing quests and improving your homestead, etc., etc. So there's sort of like a, I don't know, resourcey management type layer that's pretty low effort, I guess, or not necessarily low effort, but it's like, it doesn't take up too much of your time. It's not really that. Some games have really annoying like resource management in the background. So I'm going to press new game. And then I've only ever played this game on insane difficulty. Insane difficulty is not actually that difficult. It's actually quite an easy game. So I've only ever played the Expedition series on insane. I think Conquistador is a harder game than Viking. Viking is a bit easier. And some of the hardest fights in the game are actually in early on, and then it gets a lot easier the more powerful your characters sort of get. And I think one of the hardest fights is like maybe the third or the fourth fight in the game or something like that. So I'm just going to leave it on that, and then I'm going to make a character, and then so you've got male or female, choice of male or female, and then you can use like a pre-generated name and father's name, which is kind of like your surname as well. I'm going to be going a male for this playthrough. I played as both, and there is a difference in some of the reactions to quests and choice and conquer sequence based on your gender, as well as some of the settings that you pick. Not necessarily not necessarily on the color or any of that type of thing. This is just on your character paper doll. What last name do I want to pick? There's one that I like more than the others. I'm just going to see if I can get it to generate. Starts with a H. Not going to have any luck. And it's not that important. I think it's just randomly picking from a list of names. I think it's from. I can type it out if I can't generate it. This one, Horlefer. Let's go. Anders Horlefer. Complexion. That looks like blue eyes. Not that you can actually see it from. Complexion, so you can have various levels of red skin. Might leave it on that one there. Hair color, we're going to go with maybe a blonder hair. Does this guy have a beard? He does. I think it's more like that. That hair almost looks correct, and color 1 I think actually is green. Yeah, the colors are a bit not great from choosing here. You look a bit gestury. I'm going to leave it on the green, and then I know sometimes some shades of blue and green should never be seen. I think that's not too bad. I'm just going to double check the hair types here. So that was braids left. What else is there? I think I'm going to leave it on that though. Yeah, braids left. We'll leave it on that. I think that looks good. Alright, next. So here we've got the statistics, of which there is 5. So if you're familiar with Dungeons and Dragons or Diablo or games like that, there's a very similar stat system here. And then there's some like second layer statistics that change based on the attributes that you select here. And then you also have a skills system. So there's weapon skills, which affect how good you are with particular weapons in the game. And as you level those up, you get extra abilities. So there's like, you get an ability that you can use in combat for every second level. So at level 1, 3, and 5, and then the one in the middle just increases the damage. Then you also have offensive skills here, and then the points here can be spread across all of these different types of skills. So we've got offensive skills, which can be used in combat. I don't think that they're used in dialogue at all. Support skills, which is another combat-based thing, and I think for instance, leadership, I think it has there's some dialogue choices that it increases, special conversation options there. And then utility skills, these are mostly used in non-combat. So when you're not exactly fighting, like there's an overland map where there's like a camping mechanic, and then these support skills are used in that sort of system. And then at the end we've got feats, I think they're called feats maybe, passive skills, so they're kind of like feats. So they give you, some of them are combat based, and I think there's a couple that are non-combat based as well. So I think there's a bunch of different weapons in the game. There's axes, bows, Dane axe, which is a double-handed axe, knives, shields, slings, spears, swords, and you can also fight unarmed as well. And then the NPCs in the game, I think there isn't really one that you have to particularly select, because you're going to have a party of 6 characters, and all of the NPCs, I think they are all skilled in pretty much all the skills. So anything that you choose is going to be at least doubling up a little bit with one of the other characters. I think that Dane axe is one that isn't really covered by a lot of the NPCs, so that is one that I'm going to be going into. And then that is governed by strength, so I'm going to be wanting a good strength score. I know I need perception 6 because that will allow me to get the keen eye feat, which gives me plus 50% armor piercing for all attacks, which is quite important because later, as the game goes on, enemies start to wear more and more armor, and then if you don't have this feat, you're doing a lot less damage. So I just want to make sure that my perception is 6. Endurance is hit points, so it's kind of like, I really want to have a good strength, and this one is base damage with knives and critical chance, so I can bump that down. I'm going to turn my sense down to 4 to bump my strength up. I'm going to turn my finesse down again. Maybe I can. It's like I think like obviously 10 strength would be ideal, but I don't know whether I want to do a full min-maxing type thing. Endurance on 5 means I have average hit points. I'm not going to be using a shield at all with this character, so I'm going to have to dump some other statistics because I really want to keep my perception at 6, even though it's kind of useless for a lot of the other things that I need to have. because if I bump this down to 5, I won't be able to get the Keen Eye feat. So I really want to have that feat so I can do damage to armored targets. Is it worth bumping Sense or Endurance down? How much does it? Let's see. DR, Block Chance, Stamina. Maybe I'll bump this down to 4. I'm not loving... Oh, I've got 3 that I can... Okay. Strength 9. Maybe Endurance 6. Should I bump my Strength up to 10? Maybe not. I'm going to leave Sense at 4. Do I want to put Finesse at 4? Do I want to do that? Critical chance. How much of a difference does it make? So if it only changes it by 1%, and then if I bump my Endurance to 7, what does that give me? 2 extra block chance, but I'm not going to be using shields, so that doesn't matter. Plus 1% DR, 4 hit points, and a little bit extra stamina. Whereas if I bump it gives me just 2%. So it's not really that big of a deal, I don't think. I'm going to go the extra hit points. I think 9, 7, 3, 6, 4 should be fine. Alright, so let's get Armor Piercing straight away, and then Dane Axe, get level 1. So there's like a limit to the amount. I think you can only level up 2 before you have to be like a higher level character or like a more experienced character to be able to get the next level. When the game came out, this wasn't actually the case. This was something that was added in a bit later. Do I want to add in a secondary weapon skill at this point? I don't think so. And then we've got throwing. I think that would be nice to have. Stun as well. I don't think I'm going to bother with any camping skills. Leadership, maneuvering, Golder. I might get 1 level in leadership to begin with, possibly. It also increases your resistances, which is nice. I'm going to get a level in throwing. Charge is a handy one. I'm going to grab that. Cripple, no, I'm not going to be doing that. I'm going to bump another one into throwing, because that could be handy. Don't have enough points to put in leadership. What do we got? 5 points left. Let's go for some feats. So, what do we got? 20% against harried enemies, that could be good. Adrenaline Junkie. Bloodthirsty, plus 10 damage after each kill. Pass the chance that enemies will target the character. That's not a bad one. Low profile. So we've got 5 left. Thick skin. We've just got to find something. So maybe low profile is a good one. Bloodthirsty. Harried. I might go harried. We'll get backstabber. Alright, so I'm done. I'm happy with that for now. Haven't invested much into non-combat, but I'm going to be leveling up constantly throughout the game, so I'll be able to increase my skills. Alright, let's go. I'm going to watch the intro in the game.
Your father was a great warrior and a good husband, but he was not a strong chieftain to his clan. As he travels to join his brothers in the halls of Valhalla, you must take his place. Our clan is beset by petty squabbles. Some amongst our people would contest your claim to leadership, as they sought discord our neighbors' plot against us. Gather your most trusted clansmen. Together you will face dangers which none can predict. You will be challenged on your leadership, your resolve, your wisdom. Build a ship and take your housecarls across the sea. Power and strength for our clan must be sought outside the Norselands. If you show yourself to be bold, the gods will follow you into battle. Your legacy will live for 1,000 years beyond your time. Our clan must prevail.
Loading screens, a feature of classic RPGs. Aid me, Odin, in my effort to bind the struggles, and I unfortunately ran out of time to keep reading that. Alright, so this is what the game looks like. This is obviously indoors, so it's not a full representation of the graphics of the game, but you will be indoors some of the time, and so this is basically the level of the 3D graphics. This is the dialogue interface, which a lot of you will be very familiar with. So it shows your character portrait and then the person you're speaking to on the right side of the screen, then the dialogue in the middle, and then also your statistics, because some of those affect dialogue. And then you can click the mouse to use the dialogue, or also press the keyboard. So here I'm pressing 1, and then this scene is your father's funeral, and then I'm just going to go through, I guess I can narrate the dialogue just in this part. So it is the evening after your father's funeral. When you close your eyes, the image of his blazing ship shimmers in the dark behind your eyelids. It is not a common ritual this far south, but your mother Astrid, who hails from the lands of the Gates, insisted on it. All of the thanes of the neighbouring clans have come to attend your feast in his honour. Your father may not have been the most successful thane, but as a warrior, he commanded the respect of many. The guests are filling in your longhouse. The thanes enter first, each trailing a modest group of warriors. So I'm guessing that this has already happened prior to this scene, and this is like some exposition or some descriptive text about setting the scene for this one. And then your mother leans in to whisper a few words of advice before she takes her seat. And there is her portrait over there. You should greet each of the thanes before the feast begins, but listen well to their words. Few of them would benefit from making this a smooth transition, so there's a little bit of politics involved here. It will be important to know where they stand. And so then, again, there's some like tooltips and whatnot. There's the quest sort of meter over at the top that sort of, I think you can have one active quest that shows up basically the objectives in the top right of the screen. The quest is currently the feast. And then this is a tip in the middle. I'm just going to close that. So in the middle of the screen we have the user interface for exploration, and there's a bunch of buttons here that you can use to open shortcuts to the menus in the game. And then in the right we've got resources. These resources are mostly used in the overland traveling mechanic, and also for the homestead, which we'll get into a little bit later. So in this first scene I basically just got to go and talk to all of the highlighted characters. So we've got Nefja, Ranhilda, I don't know how to pronounce all of the names. Ranhilda the White, possibly. Rurik, Ketil, and Asleif. And then over here, Skullcleaver, Halfdan, which I think is a name that was used in the movie The 13th Warrior. And then a lot of the names have an R on the end. Apparently that's just how they're written in Danish. So I'm just going to go and talk to all these characters, and then as you can see there's this little icon here over the top of the seat, and I think that progresses the story when I do that. So this character is apparently my younger brother. Gotveld, that must be a greeting. Honoured Thane, blah blah blah. Alright, so your elder brother Rurik always had a penchant for music. He looks up and gives you a warm smile as you approach him. And then I've got a response here. A lot of the responses often end up not making much difference. So I'm just going to go this one. And I have no doubt that depending on what you selected, that is a response directly to what I said. And then I can just basically leave the conversation straight away. I can talk a bit more. Everyone knows you're a better warrior. Okay. So I'm taking over. Apparently they're more relieved than I am that I'm taking over than my younger brother. Okay, and then I'm going to go and talk to some of the other people.
Busy entertaining your guests?
And so that type of one-line voice dialogue is something that was present in Baldur's Gate, so it's nice to see that a little nod to that mechanic there, because that is my favourite RPG, basically the original Baldur's Gate. When you spoke to people, they would have one voice line of dialogue and then the rest would be text. Busy entertaining your guests. Okay. Jokes aside, have you seen School A's Huskarls over there in the corner? So I wonder if he means those three over here. No, it must be a different corner. And then Nefia. And then apparently Aslife is someone to watch out for, so he's over in the top left there. I'll go and speak to Nefia. Now, Ketil and Nefia are actually NPCs that you can pick up in the game. So I'm going to go talk to Nefia next. You can also zoom out with the mouse wheel.
There you are. The feast seems to be off to a good start.
So Nefia is a warrior character. She's great to have around as well. Ifura, I think that's her sister. So apparently the other Thanes are plotting to murder me. So that's sort of the read of the room that my NPCs are giving. A bit more information about the other characters that Nefia is providing, and then I'm asking where her sister is, and she is sick at the moment. Alright. Ranilda the White. So she's a vassal of the king. There's her portrait there. So apparently my father went overseas and died, possibly on the journey back or something like that. And his name was Orleif. Oh, that's because that's the name I selected as my surname, so that's my father's name. So I'll be nice, and then as I selected that option, that, as you can see here, this is like the, I don't know what you call this, like the log, so that increased my reputation with a particular faction in the game. And then this is the king's emissary, and she's asking if I'll serve the king. So I've got a bunch of different options here. I can, be a mercenary. I can be disloyal, all the different sort of RPG options. So let's go with loyalty to my father. And then I've got a quest update here. I'm just going to talk to all the other characters with the highlight first. Distant cousin.
Our condolences on the passing of your father. At least he died the way he would have wanted. He will be feasting with the gods tonight.
And then I've got two options here. I'm just going to choose the second one because I know that he is planning on disrespecting. And then he believes that he's more suited to lead us than I am. And then I'll do these last two. These have blue icons, which is like an optional quest. But while he feasts among the heroes, you're left back here to sort out the pieces. You've got your work cut out for you. Let's see what he means. Okay, so he's sort of warning that there's going to be trouble. And then I've got three, so I can be like arrogant. And then I'll win them over, etc, etc. I'm going to go with this third one. Well, shit. So that's a bit more modern writing there from the writers. And that one, and then Schooly Skullcleaver. Thane of Yelling, which is the bordering area. Anders, my boy, I'm so sorry about your father. What are my plans for this place? It's an interesting question, trying to get some information. Well, we do need a new ship. Yes, that's correct. Apparently my father had a real taste for battle. He came to me for advice before he mounted on his last journey. I should have warned him better about what he was getting himself into. Remain silent, go with stoicism. He doesn't say anything more. Alright, time to... Now there is a object highlighting button, which is Alt, so that highlights all the interactive objects. And that's a toggle, so let's go to the seat. You're listening to Nefya's complaints about her mother. Kettle perks up and slips discreetly outside of the longhouse. Outside, some piece of pottery crashes against the ground and men begin to shout. Obviously there's no sound to indicate that this is happening. Bit of budget cutting there. And then someone bursts through the door. And it's this guy, Otar Erlingsson. What a splendid feast for such a shit thing. Anders, your family had its chance to earn our respect, and you wasted it. Come outside and defend your honor, or we will burn this hall to the ground. Otar, you miserable drunkard, how dare you attack your Thane's honor during his own feast? Your family will pay for this. And then Mother says, you have to handle this. If the other Thanes think we're too weak to deal with such a blow against our family's honor, ... And then I'm going to ask Nefya to join me. And then, do I have to get equipped? Yes, so I've got to pick my equipment up from this thing here. And then because I selected Daneaxe as my weapon, it spawns whatever you've selected on the weapon rack, and it's also giving me a shield and a bow. So then, before I go outside, it's giving me a tip to open my inventory and equip my weapons, which I will do. So I'll put the bow as the secondary weapon. And then Mead increases strength for 3 turns. And then Nefya has a knife. Not allowed to do that. She's not in my party yet. So, let's go. And then there's a combat scene that I've got to do just here. And then Kettle has been injured. You've gone too far, Uta. There is no honor in this. I must take Anders' side here, so we get as life for this fight. And this is the first fight of the game. So this is what the combat menu sort of looks like. It's a hexagonal based system with movement points for the amount of space that you can move. This green area is the area that your characters can move in, and then also still do another action. And then if you move to the yellow area, that means they're only doing a move turn this round. The arrows means that players walking past incur an attack of opportunity. So, and it's the turn-based system is I go, you go, or you go, I go. So all of my characters will get a turn first before the enemy. So it's very well possible that I can deal with them before many of the characters get to act. So let's select Aslife. So he's got a couple of different abilities here. So we've got a stun. Actually, I'm going to use Kettle first because I can shoot some of these guys. Let's go quick shot. Try and get a couple of hits on this guy. So we missed that one. Hit that one. And then it's just, it gives you a rough estimate of what the amount of damage that you're going to do. throw a rock. And then could probably finish him off in one turn. So he's down. Then I'll get a chance to move maybe to there. Two guys. I'm just gonna go attack this guy. And then just go the standard right click. Now it's the enemy's turn. So he's going to go in and heal this guy probably. Nope. That was lucky. Alright. So when you throw rocks, you have a chance of harrying opponents. Now I did pick an ability to do more damage if I did that. Kill with as life. That guy's down. Then I want to get a kill on this guy. That guy's down, so there's one left. And then the shields means that you're seeking cover, so if this guy had a ranged weapon, he wouldn't be able to fire over this rock. He'd have to move around it. I'm just going to leave this as is for now. Hang on. One guy left, okay. Sorry about that, my girlfriend was just asking me a question. Got one hit off. And I'm just going to go for the standard right clicks because there's only one guy left. Should be able to finish that guy off with my PC. Alright, and those guys are down. Now there is a toggle for like non-lethal damage. I don't know whether it actually changes the result of this fight or not. But then often, like for instance, I've killed this guy in combat, but usually you'll get some dialogue after a fight happens anyway. So he gets back up. Do we execute him or do we let him go? I can't remember. There is a difference based on what you choose. I'm gonna let him go. Guests look on with solemn expressions that don't reveal what they think. So they're being very cunning about using their facial reactions. And then I've got an option to choose here. I'm going to go with number 3. And then as life is challenging me to a duel. And then I'm going to accept his challenge. And then that's the end of that sort of particular dialogue scene. And then this is the regular world map. So if I press M, now I can see the whole area. So this is my homestead, and I can freely explore this area and speak to characters and continue on with the game. After that sequence of events, I've also got 10 extra skill points, so I can further level up my character. And I can also start recruiting party members and doing quests and whatnot. So I'm going to end the video here, just after I speak to my mother to continue the quest line, and then I'm gonna make a new video because I have to go and do some things. So my second video will probably come up in a little bit. I'm just going to quickly finish this off. So my mother's proud of me for that fight. And then you do have the option to cheat in the fight against Aslife. So there's a couple of things that you can do. So my mother's suggesting to go and ask for some help. this option here, and then so there's two things that I can do to basically cheat in the fight. I think there's three. So there's two ways you can cheat in the fight. So you can poison as life. You can also set a trap in the fight, and then you can get some better equipment from the smith, which is not cheating. And you can also choose to just fight fair and square, which is obviously a lot harder, and I think that's the option that I'm going to do. So I'm going to save the game here, and then I'm going to continue with my Let's Play a little bit later on today.